The evening was cold, and the small town was getting quiet. People were closing their shops, families were gathering inside their warm homes, and the streets were almost empty. In one corner of the street, a poor girl named Anna walked back to her tiny house. She worked hard every day just to survive. Her clothes were old, her shoes were torn, and her hands were rough from long hours of work. Life had never been kind to her, but she never complained. She had a soft heart and always tried to help others, even when she had nothing for herself. That night, as she walked home, Anna noticed something unusual. Near the steps of her small wooden house, there was a man sitting quietly. His head was down, his clothes were dirty, and he looked weak and tired. People passing by whispered about him. "Look at that beggar," one man said. "He must be drunk," another woman added. "Don't go near him. These people are dangerous," someone warned. But Anna stopped. She looked at the man closely. His face was pale, and his hands were shaking. He looked hungry, but there was no anger or rudeness in his eyes. Instead, there was sadness, deep sadness, like he had carried a heavy burden for many years. The townspeople walked away, but Anna stood there. She felt something in her heart, something she couldn't explain. Most people would have ignored him, but she couldn't. She thought of her own struggles, the times when nobody helped her, the days when she cried alone in her dark room. She knew the pain of being forgotten. "Sir, are you all right?" Anna asked softly. The beggar slowly lifted his head. His eyes were tired but strangely sharp, as if they carried untold stories. For a moment, he didn't answer. Then, in a low voice, he whispered, I just need a place to rest. I won't trouble you." Anna hesitated. She was poor herself. She didn't even have enough food for tomorrow. If she shared what little she had, she would go hungry. But something inside her said she must help. She looked around. The street was empty now. The cold wind blew harder, and the man shivered. Without thinking too much, Anna spoke, "Come inside. You can rest for a while." The beggar looked surprised. Nobody had spoken kindly to him in a long time. Slowly, he stood up. His steps were heavy, but his posture was straight, almost like he was used to walking with pride. Anna noticed this but said nothing. Inside the house, everything was simple, just a wooden table, 2 broken chairs, and a small bed in the corner. Anna lit a candle and offered him a seat. "I don't have much," she said, "but you can eat this bread and drink some water." The beggar accepted it politely. He didn't grab the food like a starving man. Instead, he broke it into small pieces and ate slowly, almost with dignity. His manners didn't match his appearance. Anna watched him carefully. Something about him was unusual. Most beggars she had seen on the streets were rude, loud, or desperate. But this man was different. He looked poor, yes, but he behaved like someone who had once lived a very different life. After eating, he whispered, "Thank you, young lady. People pass me every day, but no one ever looks at me the way you just did. You are kind." Anna smiled faintly. "Kindness is free. We should give it when we can." For a moment, silence filled the room. The beggar's eyes wandered around her small house. He seemed to be studying the walls, the table, the broken clock on the shelf. Almost as if he was remembering something. Anna felt uneasy. Who was this man really? Why did his voice sound educated? Why did his words feel heavy, like they carried secrets? She wanted to ask, but she held back. That night, as the candle flickered, Anna lay on her bed while the beggar sat quietly in the chair. The town outside was silent, but inside her little house, a storm of questions rose in her mind. Why did he look different from other beggars? Why did he speak like a gentleman? And why did she feel that inviting him inside would change her life forever? She closed her eyes, but she couldn't sleep. Something told her that this man was not what he seemed. Something told her that the story of the beggar had only just begun. The next morning, Anna woke up early. The cold air of dawn crept into her small house. She sat up and looked toward the chair where the beggar had slept. To her surprise, he was already awake. He sat quietly, hands folded, eyes closed, almost as if he were meditating. Most beggars she had seen in the town would have been snoring, careless, or asking for more food the moment they opened their eyes. But this man was different. His back was straight, his face calm, and his breathing steady. He did not look like a man broken by life. He looked like someone in control, someone who had known discipline. "Good morning," Anna said softly. The man opened his eyes and nodded politely. "Good morning, young lady. Thank you for letting me stay. I hope I didn't trouble you." Anna shook her head. "No trouble. But, are you sure you are all right? You don't seem like other beggars I've seen." The man smiled faintly but didn't answer. Instead, he stood up, walked to the small table, and carefully fixed the wobbly leg. His movements were precise, skilled, almost like a man who had worked with his hands before, but not as a poor laborer, rather as someone who understood quality. Anna watched him closely. His clothes were dirty and torn, but his hands, though rough, were not the hands of someone who had begged on the streets all his life. They were strong and steady, and his fingers looked like they once wore rings of value. "Would you like some tea?" Anna asked, trying to be kind. The man nodded gratefully. "If it is not too much trouble." She boiled water and placed the old clay cup in front of him. As he lifted it, she noticed something again. The way he held the cup, careful, gentle, refined, was not the way of a poor man. His posture, his words, his every action carried a sense of dignity. Anna's curiosity grew. Who was he? Why was he living like this? After drinking, the man placed the cup back neatly and said, "You are very generous. In this world, people with little often have the biggest hearts." Anna smiled, but deep inside, her questions burned stronger. "Sir," she began carefully, "do you really live on the streets? You don't seem like a normal beggar." The man looked at her, his eyes sharp but kind. For a moment, it seemed like he would answer. But then he shook his head and said, "Some stories are too heavy to tell." Anna didn't push further, though her mind kept racing. Later that day, she went outside to fetch water from the well. When she returned, she found the man cleaning the small house. He had folded her old blankets neatly, arranged the chairs properly, and even fixed a broken handle on the door. She stopped at the doorway, shocked. A beggar doing all this? When he noticed her, he simply said, "A place that gives you shelter deserves respect." Anna didn't know what to say. No beggar she had ever seen had manners like this. As the day passed, villagers began to notice the strange man living in Anna's house. Some whispered cruelly, "She brought a beggar inside. How foolish." Others laughed, "Maybe she thinks he is her prince in disguise." But Anna ignored them. She didn't know why, but something inside her told her this man was not ordinary. That night, as they sat by the small candle again, Anna studied him carefully. His eyes glowed in the flickering light. They were not the eyes of a broken man. They were sharp, intelligent, and filled with untold secrets. Finally, Anna asked softly, "Do you have a family somewhere?" The man looked down at his hands. For a long moment, he stayed silent. Then, in a voice heavy with emotion, he said, "Once. I had everything. But sometimes life takes everything away." Anna's heart tightened. She wanted to ask more, but she saw the pain in his eyes. She decided to wait. That night, as she lay in bed, she thought deeply. The way he spoke, the way he behaved, the way he carried himself, it all felt strange. He was not a normal beggar. He was hiding something. Her last thought before sleep was a question that refused to leave her mind. Who exactly is this man I let into my home? The answer, she knew, would change everything. Days passed, and the beggar continued to live in Anna's small house. The townspeople kept gossiping about it. Some called her foolish, others mocked her kindness, but Anna ignored them. Something in her heart told her that this man was not who he appeared to be. He helped her with little things around the house. He fixed broken chairs, repaired her leaking roof with whatever scraps he could find, and even swept the floor when she was too tired. Still, he spoke very little about himself. Every time Anna tried to ask about his past, he would gently change the subject. One evening, as the sun was setting, Anna washed the beggar's old coat. It was torn and heavy with dirt, but she thought it was the least she could do for him. While shaking out the pockets before soaking it, her fingers touched something hard. At first, she thought it was just a stone, but when she pulled it out, her eyes widened. It was a gold ring. Her heart began to race. The ring was beautiful, shining even in the weak evening light. It was heavy, finely crafted, with a symbol engraved on it, something she had never seen before. This was not the kind of ring a beggar could own. Anna froze. She looked back at the beggar, who was outside collecting firewood. For a long moment, she held the ring in her hand, unsure what to do. Her mind filled with questions. How could a beggar have something so valuable? Did he steal it? Or was he once rich? Her hands trembled as she placed the ring on the table. When the beggar came back inside, he noticed it immediately. His face changed, just for a second, but Anna saw it. His calm expression broke, replaced by shock and fear. Quickly, he picked up the ring and closed it tightly in his fist. Anna stepped forward. That ring, it doesn't belong to a beggar. Who are you really? The beggar looked at her silently. His eyes were filled with emotions she couldn't understand, sadness, anger, pain, and something else, something deeper. For a moment, Anna thought he might finally tell her the truth. But instead, he whispered, "This ring is the only thing I have left from my past. Please, don't ask me about it." Anna's heart pounded. She wanted to trust him, but doubts crept into her mind. Was he dangerous? Was he hiding from someone? That night, Anna could not sleep. She lay awake, staring at the ceiling, her thoughts running wild. She remembered the way he held the cup, the way he walked, the way he fixed things in her house. None of it matched the life of a beggar. And now, the gold ring was proof. He had once belonged to a world far from the streets. The next day, while Anna fetched water from the well, she overheard two villagers talking. "They say some rich men are searching for someone," one man whispered. "Yes, I heard too," the other replied. "They say a very important man disappeared years ago. Some think he's dead, others say he's hiding." Anna's heart skipped a beat. Could this have something to do with the beggar in her house? When she returned, she looked at him with new eyes. He was sitting quietly, staring at the gold ring in his hand. His face was distant, lost in painful memories. Anna walked closer. "If you keep hiding your story," she said softly, "people will never understand you. I don't care if you were rich or poor, but I need to know the truth." The man looked at her, his eyes full of sorrow. He opened his mouth to speak, but then closed it again. After a long silence, he whispered, "The truth is not easy. It can destroy everything." Anna shivered. What truth could be so heavy that it destroyed everything? That night, as the candlelight flickered again, Anna's curiosity turned into fear and wonder. She was certain now, the beggar was hiding a past that was far bigger than she could imagine. The gold ring was not just a piece of jewelry, it was a key to his hidden life. And soon, the whole town would find out. The days grew colder, and life in the small town went on as usual. But inside Anna's little house, nothing felt normal anymore. Since the night she found the gold ring, her heart had been restless. Every time she looked at the beggar, questions filled her mind. Who was he? Why did he hide such a precious ring? And what truth was he so afraid to tell? The beggar, however, remained silent. He still helped her with small tasks, still spoke kindly, but there was a weight in his eyes, as if he carried a secret too heavy to share. One evening, strange news spread across the town. A group of well-dressed men had arrived, traveling in expensive carriages. They were asking questions in the marketplace, showing a picture to shopkeepers and villagers. "Have you seen this man?" they asked again and again. The villagers whispered to one another. "Why are rich men searching in our poor town? Who is this man in the picture? Maybe he's a criminal." Anna overheard these whispers when she went to buy bread. Her heart raced as she caught a glimpse of the picture. The face was younger, cleaner, and dressed in fine clothes, but it looked exactly like the beggar in her house. Her hands shook as she held the bread. Could it really be him? Was this beggar once a man of wealth? She hurried back home, and as soon as she stepped inside, she found him sitting silently, staring at the ring again. She couldn't hold back anymore. "Tell me the truth," Anna said firmly. "People are searching for you. I saw the picture. It's you, isn't it?" The man looked up slowly. For a long time, he said nothing. Then, with a deep sigh, he placed the ring on the table and whispered, Yes. It is me. Anna's heart pounded. But why? Why are you living like this? The beggar leaned back, his face shadowed by the candlelight. His voice was calm but filled with pain. I was not always like this, he began. Once, I had everything: wealth, power, respect. I owned businesses, properties, and people bowed when I entered a room. But behind the wealth, I was surrounded by greed and betrayal. My own family, the ones I trusted most, turned against me. Anna's eyes widened. They stole everything, he continued, his voice trembling. My brother, my partner, even my closest friends. They wanted my empire, and they destroyed my name to take it. When I tried to fight back, they spread lies. Soon, I was hunted, accused of crimes I never committed. I had no choice but to disappear. Anna listened in silence, her heart heavy. The man she had invited into her home was not just a beggar. He was someone who had once lived a life she could never imagine. Why didn't you fight for your truth? She asked softly. He shook his head. When the world believes lies, the truth becomes powerless. I lost everything overnight. I had only this ring left, a reminder of who I once was. And for years, I wandered, hiding from those who wanted me gone forever. Anna felt tears in her eyes. She had always dreamed of a better life, but she never imagined the cost of having one. Now, he said, looking straight into her eyes, those men you saw, they are looking for me. Not to bring justice. Not to return what is mine. They are still afraid of me, even after all these years. They want to make sure I never come back. Anna gasped. Then you're in danger. The beggar gave a sad smile. I have been in danger for a long time. But I no longer fear it. What I fear is dragging innocent people like you into my cursed life. Anna shook her head. No. You're not cursed. You're human. And you don't deserve this suffering. For the first time, the man's eyes softened. No one had spoken to him with such kindness in years. Outside, the sound of carriage wheels echoed through the town. The rich men were still searching, getting closer with every question they asked. The villagers grew curious and excited, unaware that the man they sought was already among them. Anna looked toward the window nervously. The truth was out, at least between them. But she knew it was only a matter of time before the whole town discovered it. And when they did, nothing would ever be the same again. The next morning, the whole town buzzed with whispers. The rich men who had arrived were still searching, moving from house to house. Villagers followed them curiously, pointing fingers, making guesses. Nobody knew the truth yet, but the air was heavy with tension. Inside Anna's small house, the beggar sat silently by the table, holding his gold ring. His face was calm, but his eyes were filled with sorrow. Anna stood by the window, watching the crowd outside. Her heart pounded every time she saw the strangers with the photograph. They're getting closer, she whispered. The beggar nodded slowly. I knew this day would come. Anna turned to him. Why don't you tell them the truth? Maybe they will help you. He gave a sad smile. No, child. They are not here to help. They are here to silence me forever. Her chest tightened. She had risked a lot by taking him in, but she didn't regret it. He was the only person who had ever spoken to her with such respect, the only one who had treated her as if she mattered. Soon, the knock came. Loud. Demanding. The whole door shook. Anna froze, but the beggar stood up slowly, like a man ready to face his fate. When Anna opened the door, the rich men pushed inside, their boots stamping on the wooden floor. They carried authority in their steps, and their eyes searched the room. There he is, one of them said, pointing at the beggar. Anna's heart sank. The men surrounded him. The villagers, curious, gathered at the window and door, whispering loudly. Why are they after a beggar? Is he really the man in the photo? Impossible. But then the leader of the strangers held up the photograph. The beggar's younger, noble face stared back at the crowd. Gasps filled the air. It's him, someone shouted. That beggar, he was once rich. How could this be? The beggar raised his head and looked at the villagers. His voice was calm but strong. Yes, he said. It is true. I was once a man of wealth. I had power, businesses, and respect. But the people closest to me stole everything. They painted me as a criminal and forced me into the streets. For years, I wandered, forgotten by the world. The crowd went silent. Even the men who had come to take him away paused for a moment. He continued, his voice steady, "When I had riches, I was surrounded by people. But when I lost everything, no one stood by me, except this girl." He looked at Anna, and his eyes softened. "She gave me shelter when I was nothing. She fed me when I was hungry. She saw me as human when everyone else laughed at me." Anna felt her eyes fill with tears. The villagers looked at her differently now. The same people who had mocked her kindness were now ashamed of their words. One of the rich men stepped forward. "Enough of this. You are coming with us." But before they could take him, something unexpected happened. The villagers, who had once mocked the beggar, now stood in front of him. "No," one man said firmly. "He is not a criminal. We see the truth now." "He may have lost everything," another added, "but he is worth more than all of you who chase him." The rich men hesitated. They hadn't expected the poor villagers to defend him. The beggar raised his hand gently. "No. Let them be. My fight is not yours." But the villagers did not move. For the first time in years, he was not standing alone. The strangers, realizing they could not win against the entire town, finally stepped back. With angry faces, they left, promising they would return. Silence filled the room after they were gone. The beggar turned to Anna, his eyes wet. "I have been running from my past for so long. But tonight, I found something greater than riches. I found kindness." Anna wiped her tears. "You are not a beggar to me. You are a man who deserves respect." The villagers nodded. They no longer saw him as a stranger. They saw him as a man who had suffered betrayal but still carried dignity. In the weeks that followed, the beggar slowly built a new life. With Anna by his side, he started small, helping villagers, teaching children, fixing homes. The gold ring remained with him, not as a symbol of wealth, but as a memory of what he had lost and what he had found again. And the town, once cruel and mocking, never forgot the lesson they learned. Sometimes, the person you laugh at carries the deepest story. And sometimes, the poorest home holds the richest heart.